Hey guys, this is the Betamax man, and this is what we're going to be working on. This is a Betamax machine. It is a PAL CCAM machine. You've already seen me do a previous video on talking about this being up for repairs. Now, this thing was eating tapes, and it no longer eats tapes, and you're going to see what I did in part 1 to get it to where it would not eat tapes anymore. Now, in this video, I'm going to be making several references to the SL20 or the SL10. Well, what I really mean is the SL20 300 and the SL2400 series. You see, the 23 and the 2400 series is exactly the same exact chassis as what this has. Now, this does, have a unique, different cassette housing. The cassette housing is definitely a lot different from your normal 711B chassis. The SL23 and the 2400 series are the ones that have the same cassette housing. Now, I'm actually going to be replacing the cassette housing, and then we're going to tear apart the old one, and we'll see why the old one has failed. But when I'm making references to the SL10 or the SL20, I'm really talking about the 2300 and the 2400. I don't know why I was saying that, but I was. But I want to be very clear up front with you guys that I'm going to be pulling parts off of a 2400 or a 23. I think it's I've got a 2400 that's a parts machine, and I'm going to pull parts from it to fix this, because they both have the same mechanism as far as the everything. It's got the same everything, and basically this is an SLT20, but if you look at the front door, it says SLT20ME, and this is a strictly a PAL and CCAM machine. So this is from like the UK. So this model would have been for the United Kingdom, and like Australia and Europe and all those areas. Anyway, so I do hope that you enjoy the video. This is going to be a 2-part video. It might be a 3-part video. Now, another thing that I'm going to have to do is I'm going to need to make a test tape. And in order to do that, I'm going to need a converter. So I'm going to have to convert the NTSC standard to PAL so that I can make a test recording. I actually have to have 2 devices. One, I have to have a PAL to NTSC so that I can output on my NTSC monitor, and I have to get a converter to go from NTSC to PAL so that I can put a input signal, because the signal that I input into the machine is not going to produce the proper signal. But basically what will happen is when I input a video signal from NTSC, it shows up as a black and white image. So I have to purchase 2 converters. 2 different converters, and hopefully I can find ones that'll work right out of the box. I had it was an HDMI. It was an RCA to HDMI, and I had to do a repair on it. And it was supposed to be brand spanking new, and it was new, but it did not work. And I'm not sure what it was that I had to do to it to get it working, but I know one of the components was failed on it. And it's just sometimes it's a headache when you go to buy some of that stuff, because you don't know if it's going to work. Like, I had to do a repair on my I bought a little 3-way RCA jack splitter, and I bought it at the Goodwill for $5, I think it was, $4 or $5, and I got it home and it didn't work, and all the connections were bad. All the solder connections were bad or missing, and I had to do a bridge in order to fix that little box. Basically, it allows me to use a it's like I can put plug 3 devices into that box, and then I can output it to my TV, and then there's like a little button switch that will switch between the 3 inputs, and I can switch back and forth as to what input I want to display on my television. And that's what I'm going to get, because that's what I got, because I needed to be able to do that. I needed to be able to use multiple VCRs going into the same input. But anyway, yeah, so let's get into the video now, because I've already discussed stuff way too long. So let's go ahead and enjoy the video. Hey guys, this is the Betamax man. Today we've got a Betamax machine to repair. Now, this is a different machine because this is a PAL CCAM machine. Now, if I go to play this, an NTSC tape in a PAL machine, what will happen is we'll have audio and we will have video, but it'll be in black and white. So, but we'll get to that later. But the complaint on this machine, let's see what the model number is, SLT20ME. This is strictly just a PAL and CCAM. So I will have to get a converter box to convert the PAL signal to NTSC in order for me to get a good picture. Well, let's go ahead and plop this in. Okay. Play. Now this is what we get, kind of a jumbled up mess. And this is just strictly because I'm trying to play back an NTSC tape in a PAL machine, which is not going to work. Now, the PAL records at a slightly faster speed than NTSC. NTSC Beta 2 NTSC is actually just a little bit slower than PAL Beta 2. But here's the complaint is it does eat tapes. That's what his complaint is. And you can see that is exactly what's going on. You know, I had some oil residue get onto my tape, so I'm thinking somebody might have sprayed some kind of lubricant inside this thing. I don't know. Well, yeah, we're going to take a look at the Hall effect sensor on this. Could have a cracked gear too. But the Hall effect sensor is more than likely is not working, and that's because we can... Will it rewind? Yeah. So why is it not... It's weird that it'll rewind and fast forward and play, but won't wind the cassette back into the... Won't wind the tape back into the cassette. That's kind of interesting. Ah, that time it did. Did you see that, guys? That time it sucked it back in. It's only doing it once in a while, it seems like. Hold on. Nope. See? This time it did not wind it back in. So it seems to be intermittent. Happening intermittently. And, yeah. Alright. Well. Yeah, let's just, wind this back into its cassette again. Alright, rewind. Seems like when I hit rewind, and then eject it, then it seems to do okay. But it seems like when you see, I heard a motor kind of starting to spin. That is interesting. That is very interesting. So to me, that tells me it's probably, maybe, could be capacitor related, because I think the Hall effect sensor, I don't know, it could be the Hall effect sensor, but I'm kind of doubting. I doubt that, and the reason I doubt that is because it seems to be, it rewinds and fast forwards and plays, and usually if it's a Hall effect sensor, usually you won't get any of those modes, or you might get one mode and not the other, but it's able to do it in both modes. So yeah, we gotta figure out what's going on here. So let's get real table motor out. I'm gonna take the bottom off, we're gonna pull that out, we're gonna see what's going on. Yeah, so I replaced all 4 capacitors on for the real table motor. They all have been changed. They were Elnas. These are all Elnas, and they, well, all 3 of them. There's like 3 of them that were bad, and one of them, it was kind of mediocre. And so we just change those and get those out, and I'm going to put the real table motor back in, and we're going to see if we get any kind of results. Is this going to change anything? I'm not really sure. I don't like this PAL machine because this is a circuit board that, yes, the circuit board is on hinge, but it makes it hard to get to the real table motor assembly without unplugging stuff from the circuit board, because, and what I don't like is they've got wires that are soldered directly to this board here, and those wires have a tendency to pull out. These wires can pull out so easily. I still don't know quite where the oil was coming from onto the cassette. Just looked like maybe somebody had sprayed WD-40 or something. And if somebody has done that, well, then that'll kind of make my job a little harder. Because that stuff should not be used in a VCR. Alright, let's just see if we can get it to eject. Okay, well, we do know that it was intermittent, and now it seems to be putting the tape back into its cassette. So let's just see if we can. There's something going on with the cassette housing now too. Yeah, so it seems to be working now. At least eject is. So yeah, we're gonna have to fix that cassette housing, aren't we? Great. More problems. Alright. Let's keep this son of a bitch working. So we got play now. This cassette housing is gonna need to be serviced, I believe. So let's see if we got the counter. Yeah, we do. Yeah, something going on with cassette housing. Yeah, that's not good. Something going on with the cassette housing though, so. And I think if we service the reel table motor, servicing that reel table motor should fix the tape path for the tape going into the cassette. Yeah, so it seems to be okay as far as putting the cassette or tape back into the cassette. Actually, I'm going to put a piece of tape on the label there. This is a test tape, so I don't care if the label's got tape on it. And that'll fix that, keep the flap from... Yeah, there's something going on with this cassette housing because I had to push it down here, and because it wanted to spew out some tape. Now these capacitors are brand new, so the cassette housing is gonna, the reel table motor is going to be working like it should. So it seems to be now ejecting okay. Doesn't seem to be having any other issues other than that cassette housing, because this cassette housing is just now starting to develop issues. It wasn't having those issues before. When I first started working on this, those issues were not there, and it seems like now they are. So it's not eating my tape anymore, so that's a good thing. Oh, you see that? You see that? Capstan started shooting some tape out, and the take-up reel didn't want to take it in. So, well, we have at least solved one issue. I think the tape is possibly sticking to the head drum, because it's kind of struggling a little bit to rewind. So we might need to do a drum. We'll do a resurfacing of the head drum, because seems like it's just kind of sticking to the drum there. The motor's really kind of starting to struggle there. You see that? Yeah, it's not eating any tapes anymore, so that's good. But why is it having so much trouble rewinding? You might need to do a upper drum resurfacing. It might be sticking to the drum, although the drum's not real shiny. However, it shouldn't be. Yeah, it's kind of shiny. It might be sticking to this drum here. I think the tape is sticking to that drum, and that's why it's struggling with the rewind. Typically that happens with Sony's. So well, we still have a ways to go, guys. It's not eating tapes anymore. We have to do a servicing of the reel table motor, and I need to service the cassette housing, and I'm just curious as to what's causing the I don't know if I've got a the SL10 has this cassette housing too. I believe they're the same cassette housing, and I do have another one that I could just swap out, and because could be that one of the gears is probably cracked or something. See that? You know why it's doing that? Because the tape's not down all the way. Yeah, something's going on there too. See that? When I push that down, how it stops that? See that? That's what's going on. This cassette housing's got a problem too. Well, we did fix one thing. We fixed the cool. It's still got its adjuster for the for doing all the analog channels. So yeah, I'm happy with the fact that we've got it's not eating tapes anymore. That's good. Yeah, something going on with that cassette housing. Damn. Yeah, it's really struggling to rewind. This is a nice machine, and you know, with it being a PAL and CCAM machine, this is actually a pretty valuable Betamax machine, just simply because it can do that, you know. It's kind of cool that one of these European beta machines made it into the US. So we still got, you know, some work to do to it. And now we've got a problem where the cassette housing has probably got a gear in there that's probably cracked and split. And the take-up reel does have some problems where it's not wanting to pull the tape back into the shell. And that's partly due to the cassette housing not having the tape fully seated. If the tape is not fully seated, what it'll do is it won't pull the tape back into the cassette. So the capstan is turning and it's shooting tape starting to come out, and what it'll do is go into automatic shutdown. See that? It doesn't want to, the tape is now not wanting to be sucked back into the shell. But when I push it down, it does. But too much pressure on this side and it makes it uneven. See, and then I release. Yeah, so we fixed one problem, and next problem we gotta tackle is gonna be the why it's not putting the tape back in to the cassette. Now, what I'm actually starting to think is that the cassette housing is not fully seating the tape, and if the tape doesn't fully seat in place, then of course the take-up reel can't turn and it won't put the tape back into its cassette. It's very interesting that we replaced the caps and got the machine to eject properly, but it's still struggling with rewinds and struggling with playback. However, it's not eating the tape. But it's going to go into shutdown mode. something's going on. Alright. See, we'll have to figure out as to what, oh, there's a, oh, hey, look. Oh, hey, it's one of my, that's a wire tie that I had to cut. And that is probably why it was acting up. Okay, let's try it now without this in there. I didn't know that wire tie was still up in there. That's why it was probably having all these problems. Hold on. That's exactly why I was having issues. It was pushing the tape up. It says push the tape up, and I was cut, but it's still got a cassette housing issue. But it doesn't have a playback issue no more. So, note to self, make sure you have the zip tie completely removed after cutting. Yes, I think that is a lesson learned. Well, several attempts to try to get it to eat the tape, and it's not eating the tape. Well, I think it's okay now, other than the cassette housing giving us a problem. So that cassette housing's probably got a broken gear. I know I keep repeating myself, and I apologize. I just tend to do that sometimes. So I'll try to edit that out, so that you don't have to hear me say that over and over. I do tend to do that sometimes. So I think that was our issue we had with the, because the zip tie was, this thing was actually pushing up against the cassette, and it made the gap in the cassette was not fully seated just because of this. So this was actually raising the tape just a hair. It was getting raised, and so that's why it was not putting the tape back in on account of that. Yeah, no problem at all now. So that's good. So we're gonna go ahead and put it into my, we're only gonna get a black and white signal, of course, but let's get a black and white signal. I need to get a converter box so we can convert the PAL to NTSC, because I can't play back PAL on this monitor, obviously. You know, you would think that with all the technology nowadays, you would think that they would have TVs that could automatically detect what region it was in, you know? Like, couldn't they make a TV that would have the ability to play both PAL and NTSC signals? You know, wouldn't that be nice if they had a TV that would do that? Yeah, I got my signal back, so you know, it's really weird why this TV does that to me. Sometimes I'll have to put it on, if the signal is not very strong, it will blank the signal. Like, if the signal is not very good, it just kind of blanks it, you know. but this is an NTSC tape, and the sound's not quite right either, because the tape speed is actually slightly faster with PAL than NTSC, because both the US and Japan and Canada use NTSC, and places like Australia, they use the PAL signal. And I'm just adjusting the tracking here. So I need a PAL converter in order to convert the signal. I have no idea where my other PAL tapes are. I had 2 PAL tapes. One PAL tape, I erased it. And the other PAL tape, I don't know where it is, but I had a PAL tape of the Love Bug. And it was a PAL tape, and I don't know where it is. So I'm gonna have to find the PAL tape, but yeah, so it's not eating tapes anymore, so that's good. I was kind of figuring that the capacitor was going to be the cause, and one of the reasons why I felt that way is because if it was a Hall effect sensor, usually one of your modes you will not have. Now, a lot of times when a Hall effect sensor fails on there, either you won't have play, rewind, or fast forward, or you might have play, no rewind, no fast forward. Sometimes you'll have rewind, but no play and no fast forward. So usually if the sensor is bad, one of those cycles is not going to work. Okay? So that's what I'm thinking. But anyway, yeah. You really got to kind of help push it in all the way to get it to not have problems. Now, when I try to input a signal, because it's NTSC, it's seeing it as black and white image. So, unless I get those converter boxes, I'm not going to be able to, you know, even record something. I mean, I could record something, but it would be recording it in black and white. But I would like to have a way to convert the signal so that I can make a recording. I can make a few PAL tapes of my own. I can now make a couple PAL tapes, so if I ever come across another PAL deck, I'll be able to, you know, fix it and, you know, have a test tape for PAL. Because like I said, I do have one pre-recorded movie, and it's a PAL tape, and I don't know where it is at the moment. So that's basically the reason why it wasn't retracting back into the cassette. And it was actually intermittent, but now it's not intermittent anymore. Yeah, so we slow down the head, and it stops. Well, we're not worried about eating tapes anymore, are we? Well, I'm going to do a servicing of the reel table motor, that's for sure, and then we'll service the cassette housing and see if maybe it's just maybe some dried up lubricant or maybe a cracked gear or something. And why, you know, that's kind of weird. So let's just see what rewind does. So it seems to be okay rewinding now. So that zip tie was causing our problems. The stupid zip tie was causing the problems. Yeah, it's rewinding okay, and you get a look at that drum, and the drum's not really shiny on the top. It's starting to get shiny, so I'll probably, you know, resurface the upper drum as well, because, you know. Yep, there are some bad sections in the tape. So guys, that seems to have fixed the problem where it was eating tapes. So we know that at least now it's okay. Yeah, if I put in, gosh, I need one of those converter boxes though. Just making sure that it does do a good job. See, this doesn't have a real time counter. It's just got a minutes and seconds. It doesn't have an hours. This is probably a lower, this is like one of the lower end models, you know. Well, this will be pretty much it on part one, and this video has already kind of gone longer than I wanted it to. It seems like, you know, the videos that are over 30 minutes long, some people typically don't like really long videos, so I'm gonna try and do my videos in 2 to 3 parts, and just kind of keep them somewhat short and not really long. So this is going to be the end of part 1, and don't forget to check out part 2, because in part 2 we're going to find out why the cassette housing has got a problem, and gonna go from there, because that's pretty much really the only thing left to do in this thing is to fix the cassette housing, and we'll do a servicing of the reel table motor, because now we've got the machine ejecting without eating tapes. And like I said, I knew the Hall effect sensor was probably okay, because it was at least playing back, it was rewinding, you know, so it just wasn't putting the tape back into the cassette. and it was kind of having this intermittent problem, and now we don't have that problem. We don't have that intermittent issue anymore.